At this time, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Karen Asher Cohen, the chair of HERC, to offer a few introductory words of welcome. In addition to being one of the founding partners of the Rady Law Firm, Karen had a prior career in government service that included rising through the ranks of the then Department of Insurance, the Deputy Commissioner, also as the Florida representative to the International Commission on Holocaust-era Insurance Claims, ICHEC, along with then Insurance Commissioner Bill Nelson, and most importantly to me, my wonderful wife, the mother of our children, and the grandma for our 4 grandchildren. Karen.
Good evening. I want to welcome everyone to the annual Remembrance Dinner of the Holocaust Education Resource Council. I am Karen Asher Cohen, and I am honored to be this year's chair of the HERC board. Tonight, we are here to support HERC and its mission of Holocaust education. We are also here to honor some wonderful people whose lives and actions are inspiring. Florida CFO Jimmy Petronis and Steve and Judy Wynn. You will hear more about these wonderful people and why we chose to honor them as the evening progresses. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize my wonderful board. If you would all stand. Somebody. And I want to applaud the hardest working committee, the people who have been working to make tonight happen, probably since the day after last year's dinner. I want to recognize Barbara Goldstein, Susan Turner, Rita Blank, Judy Wynn, Mona Markell, Lynn Grossman, and Susan Sternstein. If the dinner committee, please could stand and be recognized. On your tables tonight are rosemary bushes that were donated by Steve and Judy Wynn. Rosemary, if you didn't know, is a traditional symbol of remembrance. Also on the sponsor tables, I want to thank Clothesline for the lovely wine glasses, and Kevin McCarty and Celtic Global Consulting for the beautiful mugs on your tables. I want to recognize our event sponsors, Susan Turner, who is tireless for the cause, and Food Glorious Food, and also my home away from home, my wonderful partners at the Rady Law Firm. Thank you. Last but certainly never least, I'd like to spotlight our title sponsor, the former Florida Insurance Commissioner, Kevin McCarty, and his company, Celtic Global Consulting. I have been lucky enough to count Kevin as a dear friend and colleague for over 25 years. When I became chair of the HERC board, Kevin was one of the first people I reached out to. We talked for hours about HERC's mission and what we want to accomplish for this generation of children and all the generations to come. Kevin's only response was, "What can I do to help?" And the answer is, what didn't he do to help? Kevin has become our biggest supporter with his money, with his time, with his mugs, with his outreach, and with his support. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Everyone has a teacher that they remember that inspired them, who inspired them to act in a play, or sing in the chorus, or write for the newspaper, or go out for a sport, or read a new book. Wouldn't it be great if the next generation could say that they were inspired by a teacher not to hate? if they were inspired by a teacher not to draw swastikas on a building, to not say, "Death to the Jews and death to America"? Wouldn't it be great if the next generation was inspired by teachers to tolerate different people, to understand and accept different people? Wouldn't it be great if teachers had the resources to teach their students not to hate? Wouldn't it be great if teachers were educated about what to teach and how to teach the lessons of the Holocaust? Well, welcome to tonight and welcome to HERC. We are the answer. We are those resources. We are the education for the educator. We teach the lessons of the Holocaust and teach not to hate. We go in the classroom and we meet with students and we meet with teachers. We provide movies and programs to the community. We give books to schools and we provide training for teachers. We take principals to the U.S. Holocaust Museum in D.C. and we take classes to the Florida Holocaust Museums. But we're just the middleman. You know why? Because you all are doing this. You all are making this possible. We are just putting your money to work in the best way possible. So please sit back and enjoy the evening, and thank you.
Last year, HERC sponsored a production of the play The Diary of Anne Frank at the historic Monticello Opera House. I had the pleasure of not only attending the excellent production, but of introducing Jeffrey Mandel, the director of the play, at last year's annual dinner. It's my honor to once again introduce Jeff, and noting that after visiting the Anne Frank Museum in Amsterdam and seeing firsthand where Otto Frank and his family were hidden during the Nazi invasion until their capture, he was inspired to direct this production. Jeff, will you please come forward? And Jeff will introduce a reading once again from the play, but a different one than last year's.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm Jeff Mandel. Back in early 2023, as you've heard, I directed the stage play version of The Diary of Anne Frank. It was an amazing experience. I could keep all night telling you stories and what that was like. But it was very rewarding for me. I've done theater all my life and it changed me. I don't want to just do plays anymore. I want to do events. And I have another one coming up. But The Diary of Anne Frank, we made, because of our partnership with HERC, much more than just a play. We made it an educational event. We did a free program for 300 school children. We had nationally recognized expert speakers come in, both to train the cast on the historical background and to have panel discussions and other events with audience members, including people who had grown up in Holland after the war. The cast was very, very moved by what happened. I've never seen a cast work harder. We were so determined to do it right. And tonight we're going to have another short reading from it. I'd like to introduce two of the actors from that production. Where are you? Oh, come on up. Come on up. Maz Neiman played Anne Frank, and Duncan Hohen played her father Otto, the only survivor of the family from the camps. It was an amazing, amazing performance. I wish you all could see it, and I hope you get to see the next one. Anyway, let me turn this over to them. Thank you all. And Barbara, thank you. We could never have done it without you. Our partnership with her. Among the accomplishments, it was a fundraiser for HERC, and we were very proud of being able to do that. You want to sit or stand? Up to you.
We're gonna do both.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Anna, you mustn't bother Peter.
My movie stars! Oh, Pam, you remembered! I'm going to put them right... Wait, where's my diary? I forgot to pack my pencils.
Anna, you can't go down those stairs.
But it was only for a...
Never, Anna. This is what going into hiding means. One mistake could cost all of us our lives. Meep and Mr. Crawler will bring us food, books, their precious company, their friends, Anna. It's rare these days. If the Nazis found out they were hiding us, they'd be deported too.
Your fountain pen.
Your fountain pen now.
Oh, Pam, what a darling you are. It's the silence that frightens me most. Every time I hear a creak in the house, a step on the street, I'm sure they're coming for us. I wander from room to room, feeling like a songbird that's wings have been ripped off and it keeps hurling itself against the bars of its cage. Let me out, where there's fresh air and laughter. But then I remember the Jews who are not in hiding. And I know we live in a paradise. How can I sleep tonight? I feel wicked sleeping in a warm bed when my friends are at the mercy of the cruelest monsters ever to walk the earth. And all because they're Jews. We assume most of them are murdered. The BBC says they're being gassed. Perhaps that's the quickest way to die. All we can do is wait for the war to end. The whole world is waiting, and many are waiting for death.
It was a dream. We're safe. It's here. We're here. It's safe. You were just having a dream. It's all right, everyone. She'll be all right in a minute.
Oh, Pam! I dreamt they broke through the bookcase and took us all away.
Anna.
I know what you're thinking, but I can't help the way I feel.
Anna.
We just don't get along. I don't get along with anyone here. Everyone hates me because of my nightmares.
We're all having nightmares, Anna. Only you let them out. Your mother has them too. Terrible nightmares. She's having a very hard time of it.
I know. I'm trying to be a better person, Pim, but it's as if I'm split in half. What's good? What's bad, Pim? I want to be a better person, but not if it means hiding how I feel.
I understand. We've always understood each other, you and I. You know, Annika, you taught me something the day we came here.
Me?
Your mother and Marho were numb. I was a wreck with worry. But you skipped around the house calling it an adventure. You showed me you could escape. Now, when I read my Dickens, it takes me to another world where I feel safe. You have something too, a diary. You're lucky.
Lucky.
You can write with all your thoughts, your feelings, down on paper.
Sometimes I see myself alone in a dungeon, without father and mother. Or I'm roaming the streets, or they come in the middle of the night to take us away, and I know it could all happen soon. I see the 8 of us as a patch of blue sky, surrounded by darkness and danger. We look at the fighting below, and the peace and the beauty above, but we're cut off by a mass of dark clouds, and we can go neither up nor down. It looms before us, an impenetrable wall. I can only cry out and implore, open wide, let us out.
Thank you, Maz and Duncan. And I want to say to everyone here, you probably have all read the diary, but for many of you, like for me, it was when I was in high school or soon after. If that's true for you, pick it up and read it again. You will be astonished at what you find. Did I turn it off? You'll be astonished at what you find. A girl wrote this when she was 13 to 15. And you will be amazed at the depth of it all. Sorry. You'll be amazed at the depth of it all. There are copies, or there were, on a table out by the bar there. Pick one up if you don't have one and read it. And if you get the chance, anytime, go to the theater and see it again. Thank you, everybody.
This time I'd like to acknowledge the teachers in the room, anyone who is currently a teacher, who has ever been a teacher, who is in the College of Education training to be a teacher, or just thinks about being a teacher. Please rise, or at least wave your hands if you don't want to stand up. I'd like to recognize some of our elected officials who are here tonight. Some are currently elected officials, others are former elected officials. And if I missed anyone, please someone point out. I just tried to look around this room full of people. First of all, Sheriff Young. Sheriff Harvey, I know you're here. Our Representative Allison Tant. Commissioner Curtis Richardson. Our Superintendent of Schools, Rocky Hanna. We have a couple of judges in the house. County Judge Nina Ashanafi Richardson. Judge Steve Everett. And now I see him over there, Mayor Daley, John Daley. We have two former insurance commissioners here, Kevin McCarty, who's already been introduced, and the indomitable Tom Gallagher. And last but not least, our former president of Florida State University, John Thrasher. If I missed anyone, please raise your hand and be recognized.
Jack Porter!
Where? Jack Porter. That's not Jack Porter.
School Board Chair Roseanne Wood!
Roseanne Wood, okay, and I can't see that far.
Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox.
Oh. All right. A good showing, thank you. And let me ask anyone who is in the room who is a survivor of the Holocaust or is the child of a survivor of the Holocaust, please rise. Or grandchildren. Thank you. There's nothing like the feeling of making a difference. Being involved in a charitable organization that feeds the poor, provides health care and housing to the needy, provides disaster relief, something we've all seen in action this past year, or is committed to understanding the hard lessons of our past. In tonight's case, the Holocaust and the extermination of 6 million Jews and millions of others deemed undesirable by the Nazis is the most important work we can do in our lives. HERC organizes trips to the Florida Holocaust Museum, trains teachers in districts from Leon County west to Escambia County, and provides trunks of materials, not quite trucks yet, to classrooms for teachers and students to use to learn the teachings of the Holocaust. HERC participates in community events along with the local Temple Israel and Congregation Shomrei Torah to commemorate events such as the senseless killing of Jewish Sabbath worshipers at the Tree of Life Synagogue that was 6 years ago this past week. And more recently, the 1-year anniversary on October 7th of the Hamas intrusion into Israel, targeting peaceful concert goers at a music festival, resulting in 1,200 deaths and over 240 hostages taken, many of whom have been executed rather than released. Study of the horrors of the Holocaust brings attention to other genocides, ethnic cleansings, and terrorist activities that result in the deaths of civilians deemed to be unworthy of protection by despots and dictatorships. After we honor our special guest tonight, HERC's Executive Director, Barbara Goldstein, will outline the current programs HERC is involved with at our offices on the campus of Tallahassee State College. But I remind us all that the three thought processes common to Jews during the Holocaust were hate, isolation, and humanity. Hate and isolation led to the systematic state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews, while the humanity of non-Jews saved the lives of many who would have perished with their brothers and sisters. It is our duty to remember those who perished and to honor those who saved their fellow humans from extermination and extinction. The I-Check, which I mentioned when speaking of Karen's involvement, was tasked with locating insurance policies held by Jews who were members of societies where they worked, raised their families, worshiped, and tended to the normal aspects of family business, such as purchasing life insurance, to protect the breadwinner in the event of his or her passing, usually at that time, his passing. When the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party led to mass deportation of Jews and other undesirables, followed by their internment in concentration camps where they were worked to death, or if unable to work, were either shot on the spot or subject to gas chambers followed by the crematoria to dispose of their remains. The commission worked with the major international insurers of Jewish citizens to pay their claims, since there was no one left to make the claims for the proceeds due to them. This led to billions of dollars being recovered and paid to survivors, as well as humanitarian funds created to pay benefits to those whose policies could not be found or were simply in need of support. Many of the survivors were broken down from their years of hard labor and unable to support themselves after liberation. The following film will give you an idea of what receiving this aid did for many survivors, as told in their own words.
I was a normal Hungarian Jewish kid.
I was a very, very fortunate little girl because there was a lot of love in our house.
I was growing up and having a wonderful, wonderful childhood. There was really nothing missing in my life. But all that came to a sudden stop on March 15th, 1939.
And suddenly we heard trucks and tanks and motorcycles, a couple of German shepherds barking, till one day suddenly they came and they marched us to the main railroad station in Budapest.
But I said, but that's not a train. You know, it was a cattle train.
The doors of the cattle cars closed, the train left, and that was the last time I saw my parents.
And suddenly, before they closed the door to that cattle car, they put in a pail of water. Every person taking 2 or 3 fingers, wet their lip, their tongue, pass it over to the next one.
One woman said, "Excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom." You know? Just too bad. And he shot her right then and there.
They put that pail, once it was emptied, in a corner and they declared that's the toilet. It was, even today I feel that first part of dehumanization.
We were on that train for a day and a half.
Marched us into the Birkenau camp. You know, that's Auschwitz and Birkenau. One is one side of the track, the other one is the other side of the railroad tracks. By day 2 already, we get what we call in camp anybody who could do something but could better himself. It was called organizing.
The only chance you really had to survive, if you were able to work for them, to be their slave labor, if you were too young or too old or handicapped or sick, unable to work, you had no chance to survive.
And then they started to march us from camp to camp, what we called or they called the March of Death. If you couldn't keep up with them, with the march, if you on the bank, you on the road, they were just machine gunned down and left there. I mean, you couldn't keep up with the speed. And in the morning the SS came and brought up all the people from inside of the, from the barracks, and machine gun laying down. Every one of them was killed, including my brother right in front of me. He yelled at me, I yelled at me, I yelled back at him, and within 10 minutes all the SS guard disappeared. I couldn't even get up on my knees to go over to see if he's dead or just shot.
One day it was a 13th of April. We got bread. We got bread. I mean, it was like a Christmas tree, a bread, piece of bread. And I know my mother loved bread. So I thought, what the hell? I gave her my piece without her knowing that it's my piece. And she was crunching it and crunching it. And suddenly, she started. They put cut glass into the flour, and all the women bled to death. And only another person and me were the only two survivors, because we didn't eat that bread. My mother lying in my house. And suddenly somebody came into the barrack and said, "We are free, we are free." I said to Mom, "We are free." She said, "Ranushka, you are free."
And probably half an hour, 20 minutes later, I don't know at the time, but suddenly tanks rolled in, and suddenly a black soldier came to me, ground, and pushed two dictionaries wrapped in brown paper under me. They were K rations. I don't know if you ever heard about what a K ration is. Even today, American GIs have what they call a K ration. And the food in there is 7,000 to 8,000 calories. Took off his pants and jacket. That put it right next to me. He had to go back to the tank and they moved out. And that's basically the end of the story.
I remembered that my father had told us if any one of us should survive, there is a box hidden with important papers and pictures and so on at his friend's house, a non-Jewish friend.
And my father gave her some. She said he gave it to her in an envelope and she never looked at it, what it is. So she said, "I am sending it to you the way I got it." And sure enough, there were two policies of my father.
But he continued to talk to my brother, who told me afterwards that Dad has a bank account. Probably he gave a number, I have no idea, in the Credit Suisse, and also a life insurance.
I waited a long time, but I feel a lot of work has been put in by many, many people. So at least I got what really belongs to me, and for that I'm very grateful.
I wouldn't call it closure. I don't think in all my life I ever will have a closure, but I feel that all my father's hard work and due to his unbelievable foresight, that somehow I received justification.
And I couldn't help but cry that finally I am going to get what my father felt he really wanted me to have, a better tomorrow.
Paul Mitchell joined the Southern Group, a premier governmental affairs firm in the Tallahassee office, in 2005. His area of expertise includes banking and finance, campaigns, education, environment and sustainability, insurance, healthcare, pretty much everything. So, a native Floridian from Palm Beach County, where his mother's still a mover and a shaker. Was a dedicated public servant for more than 15 years, beginning as an aide to Insurance Commissioner Tom Gallagher, who is here with us tonight, as mentioned. Then as Chief Cabinet Aide to Secretary of State Sandra Mortham. He served as Chief of Staff to Tom Gallagher when he was Education Commissioner, then served in that role with Tom when he became the State Treasurer at the Florida Department of Insurance, and then State CFO when the Florida Cabinet was downsized to 4 members, which are the Governor, the CFO, the Attorney General, and the Commissioner of Agriculture. One of 4, Jimmy, I know.
Did that all 15 years.
Yes. Paul has been involved in his first love, I think, other than his sons, in many youth-related organizations, including Just Read Florida, Who We Play For, Hold Child Florida, and the Florida Juvenile Justice Foundation. Please welcome Paul Mitchell, who has the honor of introducing HERC's 2024 recipient of the C. Felder Humanitarian Award.
Am I waiting for the film?
Okay, that was the film.
Okay, that was, okay. Thank you. Well, first of all, as I look out at this crowd, a big shout out to Karen Asher Cohen, because she willed us all here. The second shout out I have is for Barbara Goldstein, who I got to tell you, if you haven't had the pleasure to sit down and have lunch with Barbara, do it. One, you get to go to Hopkins, and that's worth the trip anyway. And two, that woman, there you are. You're an absolute inspiration. Yeah, you really are. So the goal of, HERC, it's education. And all of us think we know sort of the story of the Holocaust. You have lunch with Barbara, you know the real story. She takes so much time and effort to make sure you don't miss anything. And if you don't, like me, have a family member who ever went through it, it's just something you read about in the history books. The importance of tonight, to me, is the fact that 85 years has come and gone. And those 3 people who told their story are now starting to pass. And there's fewer and fewer people who can tell the story in such a way that it moves each and every one of us. And that's where we come in. So everyone here tonight, it's my job to get to introduce a great guy who's being recognized with the Humanitarian Award, named after another really great guy, Steve Felder. He's got a really good hand. But for those 3 people who were on that film, who will pass, it's our job. Every person who came tonight and sponsored something or gave, money for a ticket, I say thank you. Because of what you did tonight and what you'll do next year at this time, the year after, as this crowd gets bigger and bigger, there will be people who understand what happened. It is so easy today for the deniers, for people who peddle absolute BS, to win if there aren't people like everyone in here who will stand up and say, I'll buy a ticket. I will buy a book so that a school child can learn the travesty that human beings did onto other human beings. So just one guy who lives in this town and loves this town, I say thank you to every single one of you who showed up to speak up and speak out against hatred. As Bob mentioned, as he's introduced me, I'm like, I don't know who that guy is. But there's a guy in this room that gave me a big chance to be a public servant, and that is Tom Gallagher, who was the state's first CFO. And because Tom entrusted me with stuff he probably shouldn't have, I learned an awful lot, and I learned an awful lot about what is now the Department of Financial Services, which led to me getting to know, well, we've got bookends here. We've got the first and the fourth CFO, but I also got to spend a good amount of time with the second and the third. And each of them have their own superpower. They really do. As public servants, you get to see them. Not the commercials, not the stuff that shows up in mailboxes, but human beings who are doing their very best to make a difference for Floridians. Both parties, doesn't matter which one, those four individuals, really great public servants. The humanitarian award is not the politician award. It's not the elected official award. It's the humanitarian award. The fact that CFO Petronas is being recognized, I got to tell you a quick little story how I met the man. He had just been appointed. He was filling the seat of CFO Atwater. He'd just been appointed, and he calls me, and I don't recognize the phone number on my cell, but I pick it up, and I hear this, for a guy from South Florida, I'd say it was a Southern accent. And, this Jimmy Petronas. And I was like, oh, well, congratulations. Yeah, I want to meet with you. So I go over, we meet. We spent. No, I'm not going to tell him how I dressed. I wasn't anticipating an invitation from the CFO, but I did go into the Capitol wearing a pair of khaki shorts. I had no choice. Anyhow, we talked for about 2.5 hours of the office and what could he do as the CFO. We also talked a lot about Florida State football. Those were days where you could talk a lot about Florida State football. Anyhow, at the end of the meeting, I get up and I go to shake his hand, and he looks at me and he's like, "No, I'm a hugger. Do you mind? Come on in, I'm a hugger too." So the guy I get the pleasure to introduce, Jimmy Petronas, is a human being. And he's a good human being. He's also a hugger. The quick professional story, he was a House member. He's a member of the Public Services Commission when Governor Scott appointed him to fill the seat left open when Jeff Atwater went to be CFO of Florida Atlantic University. So that's his bio. But the man, he's a remarkable human being. For a remarkable human being to receive an award named after another remarkable human being, pretty cool, pretty darn cool. And for me to get to introduce him to you all makes it even cooler. He is a phenomenal father who, regardless of when he's on the road, finds a way, oftentimes, to take his sons with him. Which is great if you're looking to get out of school. He's a great husband. That's the human being that's being recognized tonight. Not an elected official, not an R, not a D, not a red, not a blue. Just a good man who's doing good things for victims or family members of victims of the Holocaust, and also finding a way to support the nation of Israel by buying bonds. So, it really is an honor to introduce the fourth Chief Financial Officer of the state of Florida, Jimmy Petronas.
Good evening. Paul he didn't tell you, but when I called him, he's all about reverence for the office. And he didn't go into enough detail when I called him, because everybody said, you got to get to know Paul Mitchell. I was in the legislature for 8 years. I had no idea who Paul Mitchell was. No clue. So I called him, and he comes and shows up, and he was incredibly mortified and embarrassed, because he came in wearing like a collared shirt with his sleeves rolled up and deck shoes and shorts. And the whole entire time you could tell he was so uncomfortable sitting in the CFO's office because of how much reverence he had for the office and how much love he had for the opportunities that Tom gave him. So thank you for the introduction and being my friend. I'm looking at this event doesn't take place without sponsors, so I think it's very important to thank the sponsors who've committed. The size of tonight's gathering is awesome. There's really not the ability legally to put anybody else in this room. I am the state fire marshal. And this is humbling to have this type of a turnout here, especially to be able to share the stage with Steve and Judy, who Steve has been a friend and supporter of mine for 20 years. So it's just a real honor. Thank you. And then I get excited because I met Susan Turner for the first time. Where's Susan at? You know, and so I never met Susan before. So I was in the restaurant business for 30 years, and literally one of my favorite restaurants to indulge in, especially after the meal is complete, is Food Goya's food. And it's all because of the desserts. And I'm thinking, you know, for her sponsoring, we should have had, you know, some baklava cheesecake or something else here tonight. But anyway, it's just, it's for a boy that has roots in Tallahassee. It's so nice to have a home away from home. I've had my great-great-grandfather came. He had 3 brothers, and he settles in Quincy, Florida. And he had 3 brothers. So my great-great-grandfather and 1 brother settled in Quincy. The other 2 went and settled in Lima, Peru. They were on the run from the law. That's what was told to me. So we've had generations of Patronuses that have been in the Panhandle and in Tallahassee, and my dad was raised off of North Monroe. All I can think about is I just wish he was here tonight. Family is so important. And you see the comments that were made in the video, and it really kind of hit home with me, because you think about how much we do to take care of that next generation, and how much you want to make sure you prepare for your wife or your kids, and that they have some, you know, protection, some peace of mind, and it's hard. I take the boys with me, as Paul said, on the road a lot. And now they can't miss school anymore. They're 16 and 14, and you want to take them on the road, but I told Katie when I had this opportunity, I was going to make sure, if she gave me permission, that they were having an experience of a lifetime. So, you know, you think I didn't know, I had no idea about anything about this office. I really didn't. And all I could think about is, all right, so I've got to, granted, he used to say, and a lot of y'all can relate this in different ways, but granted, he said, lose an eye because you have a second one, but never lose your name because it's the only one you forget. And so I always thought about, you know, I gotta make my family proud. Gotta make Dad proud. And it's just really cool to be here with y'all tonight, because never would dream I'd be sitting in a place and, you know, Tom Gallagher would be here to see me get recognized. You know, these are people that I looked up to growing up, you know. Listen to y'all laugh. Y'all know stories about him that I need to know about? Maybe. But truly, there's, I look and sit at the table with John Thrasher, and, and I look at, what he has done is for sacrifice of country or state or you name it, and the guy never stopped volunteering to be a public servant. And I've always said there's people that they have room presence. You know what I'm talking about? They enter the room, they're John Thrasher. When he enters the room, everybody notices. He's like 18 feet tall. And, so for a little guy like me, this is really humbling. I get to see my good friend Lee Hinkle here. She's here somewhere. And I love Lee to death. And we went through Leadership Florida together. I had absolutely zero business being in Leadership Florida with her. But I was token. They never had like a restaurateur, and they had like zero from Bay County to ever go through the program. So, just that southern redneck charm that Paul was alluding to earlier, finagled my way through it. So I really have not read any of my notes on such to talk about. But I do think it's important that I felt like you needed to understand what was in my heart right now. And I was just thinking a lot about my dad. My mom will be, she'll be 89 next month. God bless her. She was at the church today preparing for the bake sale. You just had a big one here this past week in the Greek Festival. And then I look at all the effort that went through to put this together. Barbara, where's Barbara at? Barbara, thank you for everything. This is a real treat. I look forward to helping be on that other side of the program as a sponsor in the future. So please count me in. I'd love to help out. And then, Karen, where's Karen at? Okay, so your email address, I'm one of these strangers. Give me my phone, please. So I'm one of these guys. Nobody in Tallahassee gets their state email. I still enjoy getting my state email. So I've got all these, I'll show you. It says undeliverable. And is that her email?
Me.
Oh, no, you're missing the Y.
I'm missing the Y, that's why. So I've got all these bounced emails because somebody put Karen's email address wrong in whatever circulation. So I haven't been included on whatever you were wanting to make sure I got a copy of. So, but I did make it here tonight. I was early, but I was early because I didn't know what time I was supposed to be here. So others made sure I was here for that. But in all seriousness, I like to try to find a way to make people happy. I was in the restaurant business for 30 years. I'm a big believer in being a customer servant. And I've always had this attitude that you either take care of the customer or somebody else will. And the restaurant business can be very competitive, and you think about how incredible of an honor it is and humbling. It's just intoxicating when somebody wants to come celebrate their birthday or their anniversary with you. They could celebrate it anywhere else, but they decided to come and share it with my family. And that was just a treat. It really was. And so you try to think, how do you apply that same type of, attitude in government? And so I've always kind of had this attitude that, either I tell the folks in the office, either you're going to take care of the customer, I'm going to find somebody else that will. And, always just love this attitude of service of these people that we get to work for, and how awesome it is to say that, people don't realize, Tom, you really didn't do a good job with this, but people didn't realize the CFO of the state of Florida is an elected position. They think they think I work for DeSantis. So, I always say things like, well, I'm the guy that signs DeSantis' paycheck. And a little light bulb goes off, and it's like, oh, he's credible, Or I'll tell them, I said, well, if you go to the Capitol at 1 in, Audrey, thanks for showing up. I'm already done my speech. So anyway, or I'll tell them, I said, well, when you go to the Capitol, Governor DeSantis' office at one end of the hallway, and mine's at the other. And again, another little light bulb goes off. So, then that's where I take the opportunity to try to make the point I'm trying to make with them. But, the one thing I learned early on is just how powerful this office is. It's absolutely the best job in the state of Florida, bar none. You get to do so much good in so many different ways. And the funny thing about it is because I sign people's paychecks or I pay the invoices, most people take my phone call. But you do good with that. you really do. You have an opportunity to do good with that. And so, you know, I get this exposure to so many amazing, it's this incredible journey that I've got to be on. And, you know, one of the first opportunities I really got introduced through, you know, just through the process was learning about Israel bonds. And what is Israel bonds? What do you do with Israel bonds? How do we participate? And it was fascinating for me. And then I really appreciate, you know, Governor Sanders, as soon as he got in office, first thing he wanted to set up a trade mission to Jerusalem. And so got to go meet with the finance ministry, and there's just, you got an appreciation, but then I just realized more and more that Greeks and Jews are they're interchangeable, you know. There's a love for family that's there. And I think both Jews and Greeks were like cutting corners. You know, we're both shrewd. We like to hustle, you know, but we love our friends, and we love to tease our friends, and we love our family. And so it was real easy for me to find just a real acceptance with those friends that I kind of really got to grow with when I got this job. So Israel Bonds is my first introduction, and then I started to have a true affection, you know, in a way that I didn't realize that would impact me. And so then when you look at what happened October 7th, and you realize how horrible of a day that was and those heinous acts, you know, I had a different type of just anger and sadness. And you think about somebody's family has now been broken up. You think somebody's child has been taken from them. And you think about how horrific the days were dealing and coping with that. And then, you know, how could anybody even dream of that type of an act in the first place? So, you know, I think there's an obligation we still have as to talk about it, to understand it, to try to comprehend it. I don't think I can still comprehend that type of a loss, a type of trauma. And so, you know, I get excited about and making and doubling down and challenging other state treasurers around the country to give money to Israel Bonds, because I think it's a right mission to have in order to support in whatever way we can. I'm a big believer you put your money where your mouth is. So you know, this was an opportunity that, you know, we were able to start to take our office and engage in a way where I believed in it. It was a fine return on investment. I got to be a fiduciary, Chris. But it was also an emotional issue, because I look at how large and strong the population, our Jewish community, is in our state of Florida. So we're proud. We're at $250 million that we've got invested, everything that's in the pipeline. Thank you. And so it's cool. You know, I'm also the treasurer for the state, so I get to sign every check, and I got this great money market fund. And so we have the ability to take some of that money, because the legislature, thank goodness Allison doesn't expect us to spend it all at once, but we spend it over time. So then we have the ability to make some investments, and this is a way we get to park some money, do some good, and send a statement. And anyway, we'll continue. Before I leave, we'll make more investments. Everything's in the pipeline, will be renewed. But this is at least one little way that we can continue to stand in solidarity with our friends in Israel. Our Holocaust Victims Assistance Program is another way we have leveraged, and I don't get to take credit for this. My predecessors put this together, but this was a way that we're a trustee of unclaimed property. If you've never visited fltreasurehunt.gov, this is a shameless plug, but fltreasurehunt.gov, 1 in 5 Floridians has something in our unclaimed property vault. That's real money, y'all. So last year we gave out $330 million. I'm sorry, Steve, I know I'm cutting into your speech time. But I would hopefully that, you know, you paid for your sponsorship or your ticket tonight. This is a way maybe you got it for free. So go check out the website. And please go and claim your unclaimed property. But don't just search your name, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister. In the case of Karen, try it with different spellings of your name. Because whoever may have returned it to us may have had your name spelled the wrong way. So, but since its inception, We have recovered over $107 million and returned out over 20,000 claims to individuals to help them reunited with their assets that they were due because of the Holocaust. Very proud of that. When we started this program, it was funded with $300,000. We're asking this upcoming legislative session, we're going to double that to $600,000 because just as Paul pointed out, the generations are not here and we've got to double down our efforts to make sure those generations that are eligible are getting access to those funds that belong to them and reuniting them with those assets. And last year I was very proud as we worked with Governor DeSantis, continue to push forward with the appropriate sanctions against those that do not respect our allies in Israel. And so we'll continue to broaden these sanctions. We will go and strengthen the positions for those that are a state sponsor of terror. And Chris Spencer's here tonight. Chris is a trustee over what we're doing with the state's SBA, over $200 billion, and we will not allow our money to go to those that do not believe in the same beliefs we do in the state of Florida, or that do believe that part of their mission is persecuting Israel. That just won't float, and we will not allow our state dollars, your dollars, to go into those missions. But just in closing, thank you so much for allowing me to have this incredible honor tonight. When I was a legislator, Steve Ufelder would come to my office from time to time. Incredibly gentle man, big fan of his. I learned a lot from him over the years. It's an honor to be able to accept this award in his honor, as he was just such a larger-than-life guy. Big fan. Just hate that we couldn't be here with him tonight to celebrate. If you need me, I'm real easy. You can find me at 850-890. You laugh. I tell people, if you don't hold your electeds accountable, you get the government you deserve. So 850-890-8953. If I can ever help, please know that I'm honored to be of service, and God bless you.
Of the award. Rather than just another plaque that goes on the wall, this is a plaque that has some meaning and also has a deed attached to the plaque. It's a certificate for a tree being planted in Israel, and it is certainly in your name. CFO Petronas, 6 trees will be planted in honor of Jimmy Petronas. We honor you for supporting Holocaust survivors in Florida by the Holocaust Education Resource Fund. You may be seated. We still have another couple to honor tonight. When you meet Steve Wynn for the first time, you notice how he focuses on you as though you're the only person in the room. When you next meet Steve, not only does he remember who you are, whether you're a sheriff, an elected official, an osteopathic physician, or just a regular person, Steve Wynn is one of those people who it's accurate to say never met a stranger. Now, if you are the parent or grandparent, as Karen and I are proud to be both, of children who attended Temple Israel Preschool, you know your child was in good hands every day, because in addition to all the wonderful teachers who love and nurture the preschoolers, Miss Judy was keeping a watchful eye on them all. She has acted as school day mom for countless children in Tallahassee, and her wonderful daughter, Leslie Sokol, now has taken the reins at Temple Israel Preschool. Now, before I introduce their son, Jason, who will again introduce his parents, let's take a look at a short video clip made by some of the wonderful, long-serving Temple Israel preschool teachers and some friends of Steve.
Steve Wynn not only deserved the Community Leadership Award, that should be written in the dictionary by Steve Wynn. Between he and Miss Judy, they're always giving, they're always looking out for folk. This is so befitting for them. You can't find no other individuals that deserve such an award. You know, Steve, I met him 20 years ago, and immediately we hit it off. You're talking about somebody with a strong commitment to just really help folks, and he's been not only a mentor to me, but a father figure. You see, he's very compassionate. He just loved the fact that he's helping somebody. He says to me all the time that, you know, hey, we are here because of God, and we are God's angels, and we are put here to help people. And that defines Steve Wynn, I mean, to a T. Not only Steve, but Miss Judy, his wife. I mean, you can tell throughout the entire family. I've met all of them, and just they got a radiant spirit, you know, about them that just warm up the room.
We've all been teachers at Temple Israel's preschool from 30 to 45 years with Judy. Judy was a teacher originally and then became director.
From the get-go, the school mattered to her, and she wanted it to do well and to promote the Jewish religion and the support in an outreach way. This school, I think, represents it, and Judy is part of that as an outreach to the community in a beautiful way.
I am a big Judy Wynn fan because when Judy puts her mind to it, she will get it done.
Steve and Judy are a wonderful force that work together. Steve can get it done. Judy does the follow through and make sure that it is complete. They are two of the most kind people that I know.
This HERC, which I think is so important for children to understand what it is that the Jewish people have gone through. This is right up their alley that they would want all these children to learn about that situation. And they just give and give and give.
Both of our parents have always supported us, no matter what we wanted to do, and just always been cheering for us all the time, no matter what.
Steve, our dad, he's an excellent leader. He'll give the shirt off of his back, or the glasses off of his head, or the pin off of his, or the tie off his neck to anybody to help them out, you know, to make them feel involved or to make them feel a part of the group.
I like to tell people after, they always say Steve is a good man, and I say he's a better father as well. So it's nice. People call him everything. We get to call him Dad. It's good. When I think of Mom, just very smart, very well read, and just very kind, very sweet.
Steve Wynn might be one of the most unique individuals I've ever met. He can go on both sides of the aisle. I don't think he's got any enemies. If he's got any enemies, I've never been able to find them. I'm looking for one. He's a very, very unique man.
On the issues that Steve works on, he's hardcore. You know where he is. He's aggressive and focused on representing those issues that he feels passionate about. And that's what you want, because there's so many things that we work on in this process. We can't be experts on everything. And so having people like Steve that we can trust and talk to, be a valuable partner through the exercise, it makes it much more effective for everybody.
I want to congratulate my friends Steve and Judy Wynn. I can't think of two people that are more deserving of a community leadership award. Steve has spent many years working closely with sheriff departments in our area and to ensure they have all the support that they need. The mission of the Holocaust Education Resource Council has never been more important than it is right now. And the organization is blessed to have Steve and Judy Wynn involved. Steve and Judy, thank you for all that you've done for our community and for your friendship for many years. God bless you and the Holocaust Education Resource Council.
I just want to say to Judy and Steve Wynn, we love you. Congratulations on this great award. Well deserved, and we wish you the best.
Congratulations, Mom and Dad.
Jason's going to be representing the three adults. Jason recently joined the lobbying firm of Lewis Longman Walker here in the Tallahassee office, specializing in environmental and land use matters, as well as other forms of governmental and administrative law. Prior to joining the firm, he served, and I talked to him earlier, and he's going to continue to serve as general counsel to the Florida Osteopathic Medical Association, the Florida Podiatric Medical Association, the sheriff's offices in Wakulla and Gadsden counties, and the Florida Hearing Society, where he's the executive director. Jason?
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you to HERC, to Barbara Goldstein, the entire HERC board. On behalf of my two sisters, Michelle and Leslie, the entire Wynn family, I am privileged and honored to introduce the woman of the hour and her spouse, Steve and Judy Wynn. Please welcome Steve and Judy Wynn as the honorees.
Judy and I would like to thank the HERC board for recognizing us and for all the hard work that you do for so many. We recently celebrated our 55th wedding anniversary. And we want to thank Michelle, Leslie, and Jason for always supporting us and all the ventures we got involved in to help others. We would ask God to continue to allow us and others to help those in need. God bless you all.
I'm honored at this time to welcome to the stage Barbara Goldstein, the Executive Director of HERC, and also Rita Blank, one of the co-founders with Barbara of HERC. And before they say a few words, please come up. I'm going to go over and hand the awards to the wins. First of all, the same 6 trees planted in Israel. In honor of Judy and Steve Wynn, honor you both for your support you give for Holocaust education by the Holocaust Education Resource Council. And also, there's a little something extra down here for Judy. So Barbie, take the mic and I'll take the mic.
Good evening. If you've had the honor of speaking with or hearing a survivor, you know what I mean when I say each story is a miracle of survival. I think of my parents of blessed memory and all the courageous survivors whose personal strength, determination to live, and resilience is something we all need to understand. It's why Barbara and I founded HERC to provide guidance, support, and resources to educators and to establish community programs so that this terrible chapter in our history never happens again. It's why we are here tonight, to honor the memory of survivors and supporting HERC's efforts. As much as we have accomplished in our about 15 years, there is always so much more to do. Your donations help us reach tens of thousands of students in our community and surrounding counties. Please know that what you do matters and how much we appreciate your very generous donations and contributions. Thank you.
Good evening. By now you probably know, all of you know who I am. Okay, thank you. Hold on. I need to go through my notes, then you can do it. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank the CFO because of all the funding that goes into this important Holocaust Victims Assistance Program. I just know firsthand, my parents were Holocaust survivors, just as Rita's were. And again, will the children of survivors stand up? Because that's like really critical for this program. And grandchildren too, and the grandchildren. So my parents both received money from this program. And they were able to have a quality of life every day because of this money that they got. And it made them feel like they were able to get what they needed to do what they needed. And I'm really thankful because of that. I also want to thank Steve and Judy very much for the way they give back to the communities like nobody else. And it's a perfect example for everybody to follow. They're such a role model. Judy and Steve say the word that very few people they never say no. And that's a very special gift, never to say no. So 1 week ago, a teacher workshop occurred with 50 teachers. And you saw some of the teachers in the room. We also have principals here. So first, before I go on and share some important comments, I have some principals in the back of the room, and I want to recognize the school board members. Roseanne Wood and Lori Cox are sitting back there. I'm recognizing them because the superintendent already left, but we could not do what we do without those wonderful school board members and the superintendent supporting us every day. Anytime I have a phone call there or a meeting, there is no question. So that makes our job so easy, and for that we thank you. But what is our job? Our job is so important today. You all can't imagine what goes on in the schools. There's anti-Semitism. There's denial of the Holocaust. There's not teaching enough of the Holocaust. It's going to be 80 years. 2025 will be the 80th anniversary of liberation. 80 years ago. Some of the people think it happened hundreds of years ago. It was just 80 years ago. So, as I said, there was, these teachers last week will become change makers in their classroom. They will get books, and they got materials, and they got a new curriculum that was rolled out. So what have we learned? We have learned that we have to keep education. Education matters, and Rita and I see it, and everybody, all the other teachers and principals see it. So we have the fortune at this workshop. One of the teachers who's come to every workshop since we started this 15 years ago says to me, Barbara, how do we make a magic happen and go on a trip to Washington? So I said to her, we'll check around the room. If anybody wants to go, we'll discuss the trip. So 2 hours later, 20 teachers raised their hand, they want to go on this trip. So we need money for this. We need money for many things like this, because when these people come back from a trip, they make a difference. So we also were able to, in June, take 10 principals to Washington for a 3-day workshop trip. Went to the Holocaust Museum. They heard a Holocaust survivor speak to them in person that evening. The next day, we spent the whole day in the African American Museum, and the third day was D-Day, June 6th. It was so powerful. I have them sitting back there, right? It was amazing. So I'm going to recognize Kim McFarland. She's the principal at Roberts Elementary School, and Terry Martin is the principal at Hawks Rise. And Amy Alvis is the principal from Gasvini. So I want to share a story about Gasvini, the Gasvini Learning Center. So this was a really cross mix of principals that came on this trip for the first time. This was the first time we ever planned a trip, and it was so successful. It's going to happen again next year. So a week after we get back, Amy from Gatsby says to me, there was an amazing quote on the museum wall. Can I use it for my t-shirts? Every student gets a t-shirt at that school, right? I'm getting chills or something. The quote said, what you do matters. So now every student is walking around at that school on their t-shirt that says, what you do matters. Talk about it making a difference. And now everybody will know that they have to do something that matters. So visiting that museum was a big experience for everybody in that room. And that's how the ripple effect goes. And that's how we change, and we change hate to love. So I want to give you a brief background on how this all got started. In 1994, Florida was one of the first 5 states in the country. Now, believe it or not, there's 22 states out of 50 states that require Holocaust education. But Florida was one of the first 5 states in 1994. And now we continue to do it continuously, every day, very hard, with the rolled out curriculum for grades 5 to 12. So when somebody asked me, are you still doing it? I said, I have to do it. There's no choice. So please help us. On your table is a yellow envelope. If one person at the table can become like the table captain, help us open that envelope, pass it around, and help us make a donation and help us do more to take these teachers and principals back to Washington. That's our goal. And when we know better, we do better. And that's going to be my leaving message to you, because what you do matters. So my last message is a couple of things. There's books on the table outside. When you walk out of the room, pick up a book. These are the books that we give the teachers, and we want you to have a book to take home with you and share. And on November 9th is Kristallnacht. It'll be the 80th anniversary of Kristallnacht. We have a free film that we're showing at the Challenger Center. Where's Alan Hanstein? Okay, thank you, Alan. The Challenger Center will be, the title of the film is Pocket Full of Miracles. Please register for this film on our website. The producer and director will be at the film for a panel discussion. We're very excited. So on that note, I know it's getting late, I want to call up all the children and grandchildren of survivors to help us light the candle. And we're going to pick up your phones and put the light on your phones, and then we're going to remember the survivors. Is there any way we can close the lights, lower the lights? I don't know if we know how to do that. Is there any way to lower the lights? We have that, needed that done somehow. What?
Joel's got it up there.
Oh, good. Where's my flashlight? Oh, no. Where's my light here? Oh, here. Okay.
The rest of the people.
Yes, so everybody hold up your phone, and we can say that we remember the survivors, we remember the children that lost their lives, remember the grandchildren that lost their lives, remember the grandparents that lost their lives, and remember the liberators. Thank you for the lights going down. And remember the liberators that helped save the survivors. And 2025 will be the 80th anniversary, and we need to keep remembering, so it never happens again. Thank you very much.
Go back here. Where's your phone here? There was it. It's there.
Yes, on your seat was a bag, a little paper bag. If you have a mug and a wine glass, please take it home with you, and along with the book that's out there. So I'm going to turn it over to Bob. Thank you.
Sure. You want your paper? Yeah. Karen, would you like to come up and make some closing remarks?
I don't know why there's like a mass exodus all of a sudden, but we're not done, so. In full disclosure, I should tell you that I'm not just a lawyer, but I'm a litigator, and my specialty is closing argument. The opposite of darkness is light. The opposite of hate is love. The opposite of ignorance is knowledge and education. These kids on our college campuses today were not born knowing how to hate. They were taught that. They are modeling that behavior. Well, we can teach too. We can be models too. We can teach them not to hate, and we can teach them tolerance. You must help us save this generation, and the next, and the next. This is a critical moment in our history and a critical moment for our children. But it is also an opportunity for change and an opportunity for courage, an opportunity for teaching and learning. And you must help us stop the hate. In the book, Once We Were Brothers, written by Ronald Balson, he wrote, "There are many reasons to study and teach about the Holocaust. And maybe the most important reason is to prevent reoccurrences. We are sentries. We stand on the wall, on guard against any hint that the minions of genocide are reassembling. As the 1945 Nuremberg trials would establish, crimes against humanity must never again go unpunished. We must never allow the world to forget." Do you know what my greatest wish is? That this was all so unnecessary. That people never forgot the horrific lessons of our past. That people never forgot the almost infinite capacity of people to hate and hurt each other. That these ideals were so matter-of-fact that our work here becomes obsolete. I will never stop hoping for the day when people only remember the infinite capacity of people to love other people despite their differences. But I'm also a realist, and I know change for the better does not happen without hard work. I am willing to do that work, but I cannot do it alone, and the wonderful people of HERC cannot do it alone. I know we sometimes feel powerless. It's easy to feel inadequate, especially in these chaotic times. I know it feels good when you feel you have some control over a situation, when you can steady the ship and move forward. Well, I am telling you here and now, you can. You can take back your power and say, "This I can do. This I can change. Up with this I shall not put." You have a large manila envelope on each of your tables. They contain envelopes and pens and additional information about the CFO's wonderful program for claims compensation for survivors. If you have been moved by what you have heard tonight, if you have been moved by what you have seen tonight, I am asking you to make a donation to HERC. Here and now, join our efforts by giving until it hurts. And then you will feel wonderful. And I promise you that we will be faithful, conscientious stewards of your generosity. Your investment in HERC will yield tenfold results in the number of young people, teachers, and community members that we can reach with your dollars. Please help us stop the hate and make never again mean never again. Thank you.
Thank you all for taking the time tonight to remember the Holocaust and our survivors and their offspring, to thank our teachers, and to honor three great citizens, Jimmy Petronas, Judy Wynn, and Steve Wynn. Good night, and drive home safe, everyone.